From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, I am Win Peñano bringing you today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. Here are top Malacañang stories. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is pushing for the development of locally manufactured electric vehicles with the immediate goal of producing an all-Filipino electric tricycle before eventually making electric jeepneys. President Marcos visited automotive parts manufacturer MD Juan Enterprises in Caloocan City to assess its facilities and determine what additional equipment and support are needed for local EV production. The company is a beneficiary of the Department of Science and Technology or DOST's e-mobility program.
Tinitignan namin ang mga facilities, ano yung nandito na, ano na yung mga kulang, ano pa yung mga kulang na susuportahan ng ating DOST ng national government para makapagawa na tayo ng electric vehicle dito sa Pilipinas.
President Marcos said developing a domestic EV industry could reduce dependence on imported petroleum products, strengthen the transport sector, and provide sustainable livelihood opportunities for transport workers. He said the government will provide additional equipment needed for production.
And together with our technical consultants, I believe that we will soon be seeing a Filipino electric vehicle tricycle at maybe down the road makagawa na tayo ng jeepney.
The administration is promoting e-mobility as part of efforts to modernize public transportation, reduce fossil fuel dependence, and strengthen local manufacturing.
Dateline Malacañang.
In our news, Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth and St. Luke's Medical Center Global City have signed a Memorandum of Understanding or Agreement to strengthen the implementation of the no co-payment policy and expand access to quality and affordable health care for qualified PhilHealth members. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. witnessed the signing ceremony in Taguig City. In his speech during the signing ceremony, President Marcos said the partnership will help ease the financial burden on patients and their families while making quality care in private hospitals more accessible.
By joining this effort, St. Luke's also sends an important message that quality care in leading private hospitals can be made more accessible to qualified PhilHealth members, and that both government and the private sector have a role in making universal health care work.
Under the agreement, PhilHealth and St. Luke's will assist eligible members in navigating their benefits, completing requirements, and processing documents. PhilHealth President and CEO Beverly Ho said St. Luke's has initially allocated around 53 beds for patients covered by the policy. Ho clarified that the program is limited to PhilHealth members who meet the requirements for cases covered by the agreement.
Dateline Malacañang.
In related news, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is urging more hospitals nationwide to support PhilHealth in advancing universal health care by adopting its no co-payment policy. President Marcos made the call during the signing of a Memorandum of Agreement between PhilHealth and St. Luke's Medical Center Global City in Taguig.
We encourage more hospitals across the country to support PhilHealth in advancing universal health care by embracing the no co-payment policy.
President Marcos said stronger participation from private hospitals will help more Filipinos access specialized medical services without being deterred by treatment costs. The president also cited government programs aimed at reducing the financial burden of healthcare, including zero balance billing in government hospitals, medical assistance for indigent patients, and the expanded PhilHealth YACA program. He also mentioned the guaranteed and accessible medications for outpatient treatment program and plans to establish more bukas centers for urgent and outpatient care.
It is a simple and universal belief that we must all uphold. So as we improve how we finance healthcare, we must make sure that our reforms remain compassionate and people-oriented.
President Marcos said the government and private sector must work together to make healthcare more responsive and affordable, especially for families most in need.
Dateline Malacañang.
In our news, the Philippine General Hospital or PGH is ready to accept patients from the National Kidney and Transplant Institute or NKTI as the latter reaches full bed capacity amid a surge in leptospirosis cases. In a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said the government is closely monitoring the situation and coordinating with hospitals to ensure patients receive needed medical attention. Castro said the Department of Health is taking measures to address the needs of patients, particularly those with leptospirosis. She said non-leptospirosis patients may be transferred from NKTI to PGH to ease pressure on the hospital.
Alam naman po natin, ang isa sa pinakamahalaga na tinututukan po ng Pangulo ay ang kalusugan. Kaya po alam din po ng Secretary Mercado ng DOH kung ano ang dapat na gawin para mas mabilis na matugunan ang mga pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan, lalo na doon sa mga nagsasuffer ng leptospirosis. So nagkaroon po ng ang PGH na statement na sila po ay tutulong kung kinakapos po talaga ng espasyo or bed capacity ang NKTI, nandiyan po ang PGH. At kung may mga pasyente na hindi naman nagsasuffer ng leptospirosis, maaari naman silang lumipat sa PGH. So makikipagtulungan po ang PGH sa NKTI.
NKTI has reached full bed capacity following an increase in leptospirosis cases, recording at least 19 cases from June 1 to August 21. PGH earlier said it was ready to accept non-leptospirosis patients from NKTI to help optimize hospital resources. The palace assured the public that the government will continue coordinating with public hospitals to respond to patients' needs.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has extended 220 million pesos in special financial assistance to flood-hit communities in Central Luzon to help address their immediate needs. In a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said the president was satisfied with the government's response during the height of the severe weather.
Satisfied naman ang Pangulo sa naging pagtugon ng pamahalaan nitong sa kasagsagan ng sama ng panahon sa Central Luzon.
Castro said the assistance came from the Office of the President and will be used to support residents affected by flooding.
Namahagi si Pangulo Marcos Jr. ng aabot sa 220 million special financial assistance mula sa Office of the President na gagamitin upang tugunan na ang pangangailangan ng mga binahang residente.
Provincial governments of Pampanga, Bataan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, and Zambales each received 30 million pesos. Meanwhile, Kalumpit and Hagonoy in Bulacan each received 15 million pesos, while Aurora received 10 million pesos. The funds will help local governments address the immediate needs of flood-affected residents and sustain ongoing disaster response efforts.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is pushing for the immediate repair of damaged infrastructure to help address flooding alongside declogging, desilting, and dredging operations. In a palace briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the government is also studying the construction of 5 dams along the Sabo River in Nueva Ecija as long as term flood control measure.
Pinag-aaralan na rin ng pamahalaan ang pagtatayo ng 5 dam sa Sabo River sa Nueva Ecija bilang isa sa mga long-term solutions kontra baha.
Castro said the government is also considering the construction of a 100-kilometer dike that could extend as far as Pilar, Bataan. The project is intended to help address flooding caused by water coming from Manila Bay.
Ang isa pang tinitignan, lunas, ay ang pagtatayo ng isang 100-kilometer dike na inaasahang aabot hanggang Pilar, Bataan na siya namang makakatulong na resolbahin ang pagbaha dulot ng tubig galing sa Manila Bay.
Pala said monitoring of existing flood control projects will continue to ensure their durability and effectiveness while immediate repair and clearing operations are being pursued.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says investor confidence in the Philippines and in the leadership of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. remains high, citing recent credit rating affirmations from 2 major financial institutions. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said Japan-based Rating and Investment Information or RNI affirmed the Philippines' A investment grade rating on August 21. This was followed by Moody's Ratings, which maintained the country's investment grade rating at Baa2 on August 24.
Tiwala ng investor sa Pilipinas at sa pamumuno ni Pangulo Marcos Jr. nananatiling mataas ayon kay Executive Secretary Ralph Recto. Ito'y matapos makamit ng Pilipinas ang back-to-back credit rating affirmations mula sa 2 nangungunang financial institutions sa mundo. Nitong August 21 lang ay binigyan ng Rating and Investment Information Incorporated ng A investment grade rating ang Pilipinas. Sinundan naman ito kahapon, August 24, ng Moody's Corporation sa kanilang pagkumpirma sa Baa2 investment grade rating ng bansa. Ayon sa kalihim, 2 boto ito ng kumpiyansa sa Pilipinas. Makakatulong ang mataas na investment grade rating na gawing mas affordable at cost-effective ang paghiram ng pondo. Para sa gobyerno, nangangahulugan ito ng mas mababang financing cost na siya namang makakatulong sa pagpapagawa ng mas maraming classroom, hospital, mga kalsada, at ibang proyekto na direktang mapapakinabangan ng sambayanang Pilipino.
According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, around 6.5 million Filipinos have risen out of poverty. Castro said the government will continue promoting job-generating investments, higher wages, lower costs, and measures to protect vulnerable families from economic shocks.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says there are no discussions yet on providing fuel subsidies to private motorists as the government works to caution Filipinos from higher oil prices amid the ongoing Middle East crisis. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the government is prioritizing measures already announced by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., including assistance for public utility vehicle drivers and operators, transport fare relief, and financial aid for low-income families. Castro said the government is also studying legislation aimed at easing the tax burden on Filipinos, including a proposed expansion of the income tax exemption.
Sa ngayon po, nakita po natin at nadinig natin kung ano po ang mga programa na nais na ipatupad ng Pangulo. So, iisa-isahin muna po ito dahil ito po ay sa ngayon po ay ongoing ang pag-aaral at pati yung pagsasagawa ng batas patungkol dito para maibsan ang mga kababayan natin sa mabigat na dalahin patungkol sa mga buwis.
Asked about possible fuel assistance for private motorists, Castro said the proposal has not been taken up.
At sa ngayon po ay hindi pa napag-uusapan yung sinasabi yung fuel subsidy para sa mga pribado na motorista. Hindi po pa siya napag-uusapan sa ngayon.
The government has rolled out targeted fuel assistance for PUV drivers and operators as global oil prices remain under pressure from the Middle East crisis. The Philippines' dependence on imported petroleum products leaves local fuel prices vulnerable to international market fluctuations, which can also raise transportation and household costs.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says it is open to studying proposals to ban social media platforms and gaming applications if they are found to pose serious risks to public safety or fail to address misinformation and online harms. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro made the statement after the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center or CICC said it was considering recommending a ban on Facebook following the deadly shooting at Ateneo de Zamboanga University. Castro said any proposal must undergo careful study, particularly if platforms fail to cooperate with government efforts to protect Filipinos.
Kung hindi magkakaroon ng accountability ang anumang social media platform at para nababaliwala ang ating mga hiling para maproteksyonan ang ating mga kababayan laban sa karahasan, laban sa fake news, kung mabagal ang pagtugon, magandang pag-isipan at pag-aralan kung dapat silang manatili na parte ng ating sistema.
Castro stressed that the government is not seeking to prohibit legitimate criticism or freedom of expression.
Iba naman po kasi yung fake news. Iba naman po kasi yung ikaw ay naglalahad lamang ng iyong opinion, kritiko ka, hindi po yan pinagbabawalan. Wala pong pinagbabawalang kritiko. Lalong-lalo na sa panahon ngayon ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. Ang hindi lamang po natin matatanggap at lalong-lalo nang hindi matatanggap ng Pangulo ay ang paglaganap ng fake news. Kasi pag fake news po ang umiral sa atin at ngayon tayo ay nabubuhay sa fake news, paano na po ang magiging kinabukasan ng ating mga kabataan at kinabukasan mismo ng ating bansa kung puro fake news tayo mabubuhay.
He said the administration is particularly concerned about the deliberate spread of false information and its potential impact of young people. The palace said other digital platforms and applications that may pose risks to children and public safety could also be assessed.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang is backing an investigation into the reported confrontation between personnel of the Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group or PNP-HPG and the Bureau of Customs in Bulacan. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said those found responsible for any wrongdoing must be held accountable. She said the PNP has conducted an initial investigation, while HPG personnel allegedly involved have been relieved from their posts. Castro said the relief of the personnel is intended to ensure an impartial investigation.
Sa ngayon po ay nagsagawa na po ng paunang pag-iimbestiga ang PNP at ang mga involved di umano na HPG personnel ay kasalukuyan po na-relieve at patuloy pa rin po ang pag-iimbestiga. Hindi po hahayaan ng dalawang ahensya na sa kanilang parehong panig ay magkaroon ng mga hindi kanais-nais na mga personnel. So kung mayroon man silang pagkakasala at mayroon pang aabuso na naganap at nagawa, dapat lamang po nila itong panagutan.
Incident reportedly occurred while BOC personnel were destroying smuggled cigarettes seized in a recent operation. The HPG has relieved 13 officers and personnel who were reassigned to its personnel division effective August 20 pending the investigation. HPG Director Brigadier General Romel Batangan said the group recognizes the seriousness of the allegations and will determine what caused the confrontation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says evidence presented in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte has strengthened the case for her conviction, particularly over the alleged misuse of confidential funds. In a palace briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said testimony from former Office of the Vice President Special Disbursing Officer Gina Acosta indicated that Duterte exercised control over the release of 125 million pesos in confidential funds. Castro said physical handling of the money was not necessary to establish accountability, citing Acosta's testimony that Duterte ordered the release of the entire amount to her security officer, Colonel Raymond Dante La Chica.
So, ang ibig sabihin nito, ang may command, ang may control, ay walang iba, kundi si VP Sara. So, hindi kailangang makita ng SDO, personally, kung nahawakan physically yung pera. Di naman kailangan hawakan ng pera para magastos. Pwedeng iutos lamang ito. At muli, makikita dito ang control, ang command ay nanggagaling sa Vice Presidente at yun mismo ang inamin ni SDO or rather ex-SDO ng OVP na si Gina Acosta. Hindi siya nagpatumpik-tumpik na aminin na ang lahat ng nag-utos nito ay walang iba kundi si Vice Presidente.
Castro said La Chica's role in implementing the confidential funds should also be investigated by the Office of the Ombudsman. She maintained that confidential funds remain public funds and must be properly accounted for.
So kapag hindi na siayos mabuti at nawawala ang mga dokumento, ang ibig sabihin niyan may prima facie evidence na ito ay nagamit ng personal.
Asked whether the prosecution had presented enough evidence to merit Duterte's conviction, Castro said the palace believes it has, at least regarding the confidential funds impeachment article.
Sa ngayon po,
At least on this particular article.
okay, ayon sa palasyo, in a way, yes. Pagdating sa pagturo kay Vice Presidente, kay Colonel La Chica, na sila ang nagkontrol ng pondo para sa confidential funds.
The palace said a neutral agency should determine whether wrongdoing or possible conspiracy occurred in the use of the funds.
Dateline Malacañang.
In our news, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered the government to strengthen the Philippines' critical minerals industry by promoting local processing and the production of high-value products such as batteries, electronic components, and renewable energy technologies. Under Executive Order Number 122, signed August 18, President Marcos established a national policy framework aimed at moving the country beyond mineral extraction and into higher value activities in the global green technology supply chain. The Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, are tasked to develop a strategy covering the entire mineral value chain, including refining, advanced processing, and manufacturing. The order also calls for responsible and sustainable mining, environmental protection, and stronger support for host communities. Meanwhile, the DNR is directed to identify new critical mineral deposits and issue a Philippine critical minerals list. The government will also streamline mining permits through a digital platform and enforce that the use it or lose it policy against mining areas that failed to meet approved development commitments. President Marcos said developing the critical minerals industry is vital to the country's industrialization, energy security, and economic resilience.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Marcos administration has started construction of a low-cost rental housing project for students, employees, and informal settlers at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños in Laguna. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said concrete pouring for the housing units began Monday, August 24, under the government's expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program. The project will initially provide 320 rental housing units for low-income UPLB employees and students, as well as informal family settlers living near the university. Castro said the project broke ground only in March and has now moved into full-scale construction. The expanded 4PH program aims to address the country's housing backlog by providing affordable and decent housing through high-rise subdivision type and rental housing projects. The palace said the UPLB project demonstrates the government's continuing efforts to bring affordable and dignified housing closer to Filipinos.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has declared special non-working days in 4 municipalities and 1 city to give residents an opportunity to participate in local celebrations. August 28, Friday, is declared a special non-working day in San Agustin, Romblon for the Kalipayan Festival. September 3, Thursday, will be a special non-working day in Iriga City, Camarines Sur for its 58th charter anniversary. In Loon, Bohol, September 8, Tuesday, is declared a special non-working day for the Sidla Kasilak Festival or Festival of Lights. September 12, Saturday, is a special non-working day in Siquijor, marking its 54th anniversary as the provincial capital. Meanwhile, September 14, Monday, is declared a special non-working day in Moncayo, Davao de Oro for its 72nd founding anniversary. The proclamations were signed by Acting Executive Secretary Ralph Recto on August 20 by authority of the President.
Dateline Malacañang.
The historic Coconut Palace has been revitalized ahead of the Philippines hosting of the 49th ASEAN Leaders Summit in November. The landmark, also known as Tahanang Pilipino, was relaunched Tuesday following renovations aimed at preserving its distinctive Filipino architecture while upgrading its facilities. The Coconut Palace will be one of the venues for the ASEAN Leaders Summit scheduled from November 10 to 12. Designed under the supervision of National Artist for Architecture Francisco Bobby Manyosa, the palace is known for its extensive use of indigenous materials, including coconut shells and wood, kapis shells, solihiya, and nara. It also features 7 bedrooms inspired by different Philippine regions, showcasing their traditional textiles, furniture, and artworks. The National Museum of the Philippines declared the Coconut Palace an important cultural property in 2023. The palace said the revitalization highlights the country's cultural heritage and Filipino craftsmanship as the Philippines prepares to welcome ASEAN leaders and delegates.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has welcomed Filipino singer-songwriter Win Durado to Malacañang, recognizing her growing success in South Korea's music and entertainment industry. The 21-year-old Durado paid a courtesy call on the president following several career milestones that have brought Filipino talent to the international spotlight. Durado made history as the only foreign contestant to reach the top 4 of South Korea's Sing Again 4, where she finished as runner-up. She later won the Netflix Korea reality music music competition, Famous Singers Need a Hit Song, which ran from February to May this year. Dorado has also released original music in South Korea and contributed to the soundtrack of the romance comedy series My Royal Nemesis. Her international journey began at age 10 when she became a grand finalist in the first season of Asia's Got Talent. During her meeting with President Marcos, Dorado performed part of the Filipino classic Bato sa Buhangin. Her achievements highlights the growing international recognition of Filipino artists and their ability to compete on the global stage.
Dateline Malacañang.
The government is proposing 8.67 billion pesos for the Department of Science and Technology or DOST's scholarship programs under the proposed 2027 national budget. The Department of Budget and Management or DBM said the funding will support 67,504 scholars nationwide or 2,407 more beneficiaries than those funded in 2026. Of the proposed allocation, 7.55 billion pesos will go to the DOST Science Education Institute for undergraduate and graduate scholarships and specialized training. Another 1.12 billion pesos is proposed for the Philippine Science High School System, which provides specialized secondary education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics or STEM. DBM Acting Secretary Kim Robert De Leon said the increased funding will expand opportunities for young Filipinos to pursue STEM education and help build the country's pool of scientists, engineers, researchers, and innovators. The 2027 National Expenditure Plan has been transmitted to the Congress and will serve as the basis for crafting the General Appropriations Bill.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Education or DepEd is planning to adopt a hybrid security framework to improve school safety amid a shortage of campus security guards nationwide. DepEd Secretary Sani Angara said the proposed system will combine school guards with barangay tanods, police patrols, local government security personnel, and parent-teacher associations volunteers. Under the plan, small and medium-sized schools with up to 1,000 learners will have one security guard, while larger campuses will be assigned 2 to 4 guards depending on their population. The guards will be supported by community personnel, particularly those or during arrival and dismissal periods for gate, perimeter, traffic, and crowd control. The Philippine National Police will also reinforce security through mobile patrols. DepEd will implement the framework in 2 phases, prioritizing large and extremely large campuses. The agency also plans to upgrade school security through CCTV cameras, improved lighting, access control systems, and scanners.
Dateline Malacañang.
Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla is pushing for stricter penalties for illegal possession of firearms following the recent school shooting in Zamboanga City. Remulla wants possession of loose firearms to be made a non-bailable offense with a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. He called on Congress to amend Republic Act 11766 or the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act, saying the current penalties do not provide enough deterrence because suspects can post bail while cases are pending. Remulla said stronger penalties could help reduce gun-related crimes, noting that loose firearms are involved in many such offenses. He said congressional leaders are already working on amendments and hopes the measure will be approved by January. The DILG chief also urged licensed firearm owners to ensure their weapons are properly secured and inaccessible to unauthorized persons. His call followed the Zamboanga City school shooting in which a minor reportedly gained access to legally owned firearms.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police or PNP is coordinating with the Department of Education or DepEd and school officials to improve the conduct of school safety drills. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said local police units are working with DepEd officials to determine adjustments needed to strengthen preparedness while protecting the physical and psychological well-being of learners and teachers. The nationwide school safety drills scheduled for August 25 were postponed following concerns from advocacy and medical groups that the exercises should include stronger psychosocial and child protection measures. DepEd also cited bad weather and the suspension of face-to-face classes. The department said the drills will be age-appropriate and trauma-informed, focusing on basic protective actions, communication, coordination, accountability, and recovery. Nartates said the PNP respects the concerns raised over active shooter drills and will provide technical assistance once the nationwide exercises resume. He stressed that the police will support non-traumatic approaches to improve school safety and preparedness.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police or PNP is thanking the public after receiving favorable ratings in the latest Okta research survey. The survey found that 72% of Filipinos feel safe in their communities, while 68% said they are not afraid to walk alone at night. Another 54% said they have no worries about robbers breaking into their homes. PNP spokesperson Colonel Allen Reyco attributed the positive perception to strategic police deployment, particularly in areas where officers are most needed. The survey also showed that 65% of Filipinos trust the PNP, up from 63% in March, while 63% expressed satisfaction with police performance. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. thanked the public for its trust, but said the police force will not become complacent. He vowed to sustain efforts to maintain peace and order and strengthen the PNP's commitment to serving and protecting Filipinos.
Dateline Malacañang.
Disaster-affected families do not need to present a certificate of indigency to receive humanitarian assistance during calamities and emergencies, according to the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD. DSWD Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao said local government units are responsible for identifying and assessing families affected by disasters, while the DSWD provides additional assistance and technical support. As of Tuesday, the department has distributed more than 1.2 billion pesos worth of humanitarian assistance to communities affected by the enhanced southwest monsoon and tropical cyclones Luis, Maymay, and Neneng. The assistance includes around 1.9 million family food packs, ready-to-eat food, non-food items, and 14.4 million pesos in financial aid for severely affected families. Dumlao assured the public that the DSWD will continue coordinating with affected local governments to identify additional needs and provide immediate assistance to disaster-stricken communities.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD welcomes the latest survey showing a decline in the number of Filipino families experiencing involuntary hunger. The second quarter survey of the social weather stations found that 20.3% of families experienced hunger in June, down from 23.2% in March. DSWD spokesperson Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao attributed the improvement to government anti-hunger programs, including the Walang Gutom program and Walang Gutom Kitchen. Under the Walang Gutom program, 600,000 beneficiaries received 3,000 pesos in monthly food credits for nutritious food. Dumlao said the latest survey will help the DSWD further improve its social protection programs, particularly in areas where hunger remains high.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Agriculture or DA says the recent weather disturbances will not significantly affect the supply of or market prices of locally produced rice. The DA reported about 1.07 billion pesos in damage to the rice sector, equivalent to nearly 29,500 metric tons of palay losses. However, DA spokesperson Assistant Secretary Arnel De Mesa said the losses are small compared with the country's annual palay production of around 20 million metric tons. He said the rice prices in Metro Manila are also stable, with premium rice selling at 45 to 62 pesos per kilo. Meanwhile, the DA is urging consumers to reduce rice wastage through its Be Responsible campaign, as the Philippines waste an estimated 24.4 billion pesos worth of rice every year. The agency is also providing agricultural inputs, insurance payouts, and recovery loans to farmers affected by the recent weather disturbances.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Agriculture or DA says the recent increase in vegetable prices could ease within 3 weeks to 1 month as farmers recover from heavy rains and flooding. DA spokesperson Assistant Secretary Arnel De Mesa said prices will depend on how quickly affected farmers can replant and restore production. The agency has monitored a 10 to 15% increase in prices of some vegetables, including eggplant, which has risen by as much as 50 pesos per kilo. Central Luzon and Calabar Zone recorded the biggest losses in high-value crops, with combined damage exceeding 409 million pesos. The Mesa said unaffected areas may serve as alternative sources of vegetables while production in damaged areas recovers.
Dateline Malacañang.
Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak is warning Filipinos seeking jobs in New Zealand to verify recruitment agencies and job offers to avoid illegal recruiters. Kakdak said the Department of Migrant Workers has conducted around 30 closure operations against illegal recruiters in Metro Manila this year and is now expanding operations outside the capital. He cited the recent arrest in Iloilo of a woman accused of recruiting Filipinos for non-existent jobs in New Zealand and charging fees of up to 300,000 pesos. Kakdak reminded job seekers that placement fees are prohibited for New Zealand-bound workers. He urged applicants to deal only with licensed recruitment agencies and verify job offers with the DMW or the New Zealand Embassy before leaving the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Maritime Industry Authority or Marina assured that no Filipino seafarer has lost a job or been displaced due to the disruption of the Seafarers Identification and Record Book or SIRB system. Marina said it has issued more than 500 temporary certifications since August 14 to seafarers with immediate deployment requirements. The agency said the certifications are issued on the same day of appointment and are verifiable by port state authorities. Marina has also met with 50 licensed manning agencies, which confirmed that no seafarers have been displaced because of the system disruption. The SIRB system is being restored following a cyber attack on August 18. Meanwhile, Marina has extended the validity of documents for qualified seafarers with immediate deployment needs whose SIRBs are expiring or have already expired.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that concludes today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, I am Win Peñano. Good day.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.